Hey, what is up, Chris Country fans? I hope you guys are having a great day. It's a cold one here in Colorado, as you just saw from me starting up the truck. At least according to the truck, it's 34 outside. Probably, realistically, 35, 36. But obviously, from the start, you can tell it's one of the reasons I love my Cummins versus the 7.3s that I had. The two Ford 7.3s I had last winter, when the temperature got down to here, if they weren't plugged in, man, it was turn the key and pray. But the reason I'm making this video, I've had a couple of people ask me if I would ever consider getting into a newer diesel, and I think I've hit on the topic and the subject before, and I figure I'd talk about it while I'm waiting for my truck to warm up. So no worries, I'm not driving right now. It's just, obviously it's cold, and letting her warm up before I go take care of a few errands. But I mean, don't get me wrong, if I were to get another truck besides my truck I have now, which for those of you that don't know, it's an 06 Dodge Ram 3500 mega cab, 6-speed manual, 5.9 Cummins. I don't really see myself ever getting like a newer Duramax. When it comes to Duramaxes, they're all right. I mean, if someone told me I had to get a Duramax, I'd probably get an 01 or an 02. I don't see myself ever going back to a Power Stroke. Ford, they make decent trucks. It's just, I don't know if I could ever do a Power Stroke again. I've got too many reasons to enjoy having the Cummins that I have. So, I mean, if I had to go for a newer truck, like if I had to, is what I'm getting at, it'd probably be a Cummins. But, and, you know, because, again, getting back to the original premise of the video, a lot of people will ask me, would I do a newer Cummins? And honestly, right now, it'd be yes and no. I mean, I like the style. From what I've seen, the interiors look pretty good. But at the same time, it's just, I've sat in a couple of newer Dodge Cummins. A couple of years ago, I was helping my mom shop for a new car, and we went car match with the dealership that we were at, and they tend to leave their vehicles unlocked so you can kind of sit in them and get a feel for them. And as a result, I've sat in, I think, like 2014 or 2015 Dodge Ram 25 and 3500s with the Cummins, and they feel nice. It's just, my problem with the 4th gens, well, one of my main problems with the 4th gens, is when you, and I think it's across the board, I mean, to a point even with Ford, although I think Ford kind of didn't delve into it too much. But with these newer trucks, to me, it just feels like you're hopping in like a plush car, rather than a work truck or a truck that's built for work. You know, and that was just my impression with not only Dodge, but, you know, Ford and GM especially. But I hop in these and I'm like, these are almost too nice. I mean, I really want to use them for a truck, just because if you use a truck like it's supposed to be used, of course, you know, you're going to get scratches and dings and dents and that kind of thing. And, you know, just I'm looking at these trucks and I'm just like, I don't see myself, you know, really wanting to use the truck for the purposes of a truck, just because it's too nice of a truck. You know, it's too nice, it's too plush. But I guess the manufacturers did it that way to kind of appeal to the people that, you know, they have a truck, they use it occasionally for a truck reason, but, you know, they want something that can haul a family around, keep them comfortable, and that kind of thing. So that's one reason why I want to go for a newer truck. It's just because it's too plush, and to me, there's just too many things that are overcomplicated and can break. I'm talking like, you know, your push button start, your electronic parking brakes, and the thing that Dodges have done that just drives me nuts is that silly rotary knob dial gear. That right there makes me nervous. And again, either the push button starts or those few years where Dodge did that, it wasn't a key, but it wasn't a push button start. It was like that key with that fob with the little weird knob, and you put in this is going to sound bad, like what she said, but you literally put it into the hole and turn. I mean, it worked like a key, but it wasn't a key, which, that thing kind of made me nervous too. So that's one reason. Just too many electronics that can break down and leave you stranded. To me, it's just the interiors alone are too complicated. And then, of course, you get to the drivetrain, though. I'm not faulting Cummins for this one. I imagine that 6.7 that they created is a great engine. And, but it's the main thing that scares me with that truck is I know they use a more advanced turbo. I can't remember if it's a VTT turbo. I'm thinking it is. But some kind of variable geometry turbo. But the main thing that I'm well aware of is, of course, the after treatment systems that came out, at least for Dodge. They went to that in 07. I think Ford started with the more advanced after treatment when they debuted the 6.4 in 08. I'm not sure when Chevy did it. I think Chevy went to the after treatment in like 07 and a half, 08, somewhere around there. And when I say after treatment, I'm talking like DPF, and then after 2010, 2011, when everybody went to the SCR. DPF is diesel particulate filter, also incorporated a DOC, which is a diesel oxygenate catalyst, which, from my understanding, and I'm still learning about these, the DOC just kind of acts like another version of a catalytic converter, is how I'm made to understand it. And then the SCR is selective catalyst reduction, which is basically uses the diesel exhaust fluid and sprays it into the exhaust, and it mixes with the gases, and it's supposed to reduce like the nitrous oxides, all that fancy stuff. But to me, it's just, it makes things more complicated. Even, in the early years, 08, 09, 10, when it was just the DPF alone was problematic. I mean, I've read about it just, from the 6.4 forums, although I hate to say this, the 6.4 is when you only run a certain motor for, I think, 3 or 4 years, and you completely get away from it. That says something right there. But but I think all three, Dodge, GM, and Ford, they all use the same DPF systems. Is what it is, it's like it will catch the soot that diesels create when they do their exhaust, and then once it got to a certain back pressure or a certain fullness, if you will, the computer will command the fuel injectors to fire on the exhaust cylinders, which essentially will create extra heat out through the exhaust to basically push out the soot that the filter had captured. At least that's my understanding of it. So, but the problem is, and at least from what I've seen and from what I've heard, the way the system runs, I mean, first off, you run the chance of, the DPF clogging up, and then you got a shit ton of back pressure, and essentially can burn the motor up, worst case scenario, which I've heard stories of it happening. But also, it's just, it reduces the life of your injectors because they're working double as hard, especially if, because of how you're using your truck, you wind up creating a lot of soot just because you're working the engine. You're going into what they call a regen mode more often, which regen mode is when the computer's firing the fuel injectors on the exhaust strokes and, basically pushing that heat out to force the soot out of the DPF. But, I mean, so you got that problem. I mean, it wears out your fuel injectors faster. But think about it, too. When you're pushing that much heat and you're pushing it out the exhaust, well, the exhaust also runs through the turbocharger. So you're pushing all this extra heat through the turbo, which after a while, I imagine it's going to cook the seals on the turbo, especially if the DPF gets clogged and creates back pressure on top of heat. So, I mean, it doesn't help the turbos. And from what I've heard, I think everybody's had, issues to one degree or another with the turbos. It's just a matter of what year and stuff like that. So, and the main thing is, too, the main thing that gets to me about this after-treatment system is it's ironic. They create it to basically be more environmentally friendly, but yet, the way I see it is, you're burning more fuel just to supposedly help run a system that's supposed to be better for the environment. I never really understood that. I mean, I get the theory and the operation of how it works. I just think it's ironic you have to burn more fuel just to get it to work the way it's designed to. But that's just a lot of the reason why I won't go to a 4th gen. And a lot of people are like, oh, just delete the system. Well, unfortunately, I know you can do it, but I live in Colorado Springs. Here we have diesel emissions, which means I pretty much need an intact system. I mean, granted, our emissions aren't like California, so, I mean, you could get away with just pulling the system, leaving the system in long enough to get it to pass emissions, and then you pull it. But every couple of years, you have to turn around and redo the emissions, which means you have to put the thing back in, retune it, or whatever. So, I mean, I've heard of people doing that, but to me, that's just too much work, honestly. I mean, I know deleting helps the engine live longer because you're not running the DPF or anything like that, so the engine can just do what it's supposed to do. But I don't really have the kind of resources or the kind of money to buy one system and maintain another. When really, like I said, I'm driving my truck I have now, an 06, which is a 5.9. My truck doesn't have any of that. I don't have the DPF, whatever. I don't even think I've got a catalytic converter on this thing. I know I don't have an EGR. So that's, long story short, that's what I'm getting to. It's why I really haven't had much desire to go into a 4th gen. Now, many years ago when I was younger, I didn't even want a vehicle this new. I was kind of more old school in the way I wanted something that had the least electronics as possible. That's why I really like the older 70s and 80s Chevy and GM trucks. But I've gotten more comfortable with these newer vehicles. I mean, again, obviously here I am in an 06. So I can't say I'd never get into a 4th gen, but it's just right now I don't think I could afford one. I mean, a lot of times I'm surprised I have the truck I have now. But it comes back to there's just way too many complicated moving parts that I don't really see a need to deal with when I'm perfectly happy with my 06. So that's just why, but I figure I'd put that out there, put my opinion about the 4th gens. I'm not saying they're bad trucks at all. It's just, I really don't want to have to deal with an after treatment system that I'd have to constantly be mindful about, and just having to deal with all those extra systems that can eventually break down. I mean, yeah, my truck's a little complicated. I mean, it's got the common rail and it has the computers, common rail being the common rail fuel injection. But she's still a good, robust truck. She's got the old 5.9 Cummins, and there's just not a whole lot that happens to these engines. I think for this generation, their main weakness is just the injectors. Yeah, the CP3 injection pump can also go out after a little while, but if you maintain good fuel pressure, put the right fuel additives in, because a lot of the reasons these newer injectors aren't holding up is, I hate to say it, and from the research I've been seeing, our diesel fuel, it's gotten better, but also just the low sulfur, it's taken a lot of the lubricity out of the fuel, so it can't lubricate the pumps and the injectors like the old fuel used to, and as a result, these injectors and pumps can kind of give out after a while. Now, it does help that burning the fuel doesn't create as much soot as our older fuel did, which, when it was burning more soot, it would cause more problems. But that's just the main drawback. So as long as you maintain like a good fuel additive in your fuel and get your fuel from good sources, your injectors can hold up a little bit longer. It's just that's something you got to be aware of. But again, those are the two big things that are the drawbacks to these. Now, of course, you got the Dodge problems too. Their suspensions weren't the best. I mean, they were a little bit better than the 2nd gen Cummins, but still weren't the best. And as you know, I had to completely redo the front end on this thing not too long ago. But yeah, that's just it. To me, it's just a simple truck, and it does what I need it to do. So again, 410s, I'm not saying they're bad. They're just more complicated than I really feel like I need to deal with right now. But it's not to say I'll never ever get one. I mean, who knows, maybe one day I will, but for right now, no. But that's it. I just figured I'd put this little blog before I go run my errands. I'm Chris for Chris Country. Hope you guys are having a great day, week, weeknight, whatever time it is, wherever you may happen to be. And feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate, you guys watching my videos and giving me the interaction that you do. And we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.